Yo, we're back. What's up? Trick Daddy in the house. Could be my baggy jeans that make me seem a little bit different from y'all. I ain't tripping, y'all. I was raised a little different than y'all. We're back. Today we're going to do a little something different. We're not changing the whole nothing. We're just doing something a little different today. And that's because I had the idea to go through top 15 transhumanist AI films with SEX bots and etc. and the programming and the propagandizing that they're doing to get us ready for all of that, combined with the rollout of ChatGPT rolling out. ChatGPTs roll out. Rough Riders, mount up. Just hit the east side of the LBC on a mission trying to find Mr. Warren GPT. I saw some muck-ass buster tricks, so I get them homies up in the mix. If you know like I know, you don't want to step to this. It's the G-Funk era, funked out with a gangster twist. If you smoke like I smoke, then you're like every day. What's up? Shout out to my Nate Dogg fans in the house. Y'all weren't expecting me to pop on here and bust out a bunch of Nate Dogg and Warren Gah, but I did. Somebody talked about Top G the other day. I'm the Warren Top G. Anyway, the top 15 transhumanist movies. By the way, a little housekeeping. Every time somebody says they want to do housekeeping, that's all I think about. When I'm listening to the live streams and I hear my favorite YouTubers say, a little housekeeping, and I say, don't need it. I'm only staying one night. Don't need beds and pillows. And who needs their pillows and their sheets changed after one night, by the way? That's a little weird. How much funky stuff can you do in one night anyway? And if it's just one person walking up in a hotel alone at night, now I usually have Jamie with me, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, how dirty can you conceivably even make the sheets, even if you're trying to get them funk nasty? It's a G-Funk era, funked out with a gangster twist. If you know like I know, you don't want to step to this. Somebody thought I was joking about. No, I do want to train. And then, so Sam Hyde said yesterday he trained me. Now, I hope he's not joking. And then I asked him, I said, are you joking? You being serious? Sam Hyde said, I'm going to train you. He said, come up here, dog. Quote unquote, come up here, dog. All right, dog. I'll come up there. Problem is, the two people I offered a Creator Clash boxing match to already said, no. So now we got to try to find somebody else. And and somebody said, why don't you debate, or why don't you have a boxing match, Creator Class match with so-and-so Roman Catholic? And they listed a bunch of Roman Catholics that I actually like. Well, I'm going to offer the debate, or the fight, the boxing match to people I don't like first. I'm not going to debate somebody fight somebody I like first. Somebody tries to say, you threaten violence. No, dude, Creator Clash isn't a threat of violence, dummy. So, hopefully that'll come about. I don't know if it will, but then somebody said, why don't you do MMA? Actually, I would like to do something MMA instead of boxing, but I think that we could probably maybe pull off a spot in Creator Clash. I don't know if we could pull off, what am I going to enter the octagon and try to grapple with Butterbean? I can't grapple with Butterbean, dude. What are you talking about? If you know like I know, you don't want to step to this. Now people say, oh, you trying to say you're a badass? No, actually, I'm not. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm tired of all the soy debate men. I'm not talking about Daniel Hikikachu. I'm talking about just in general. So I have been hitting the gym. and I think some people have noticed a little bit of gains, a little bit. We're not, we don't have, what's that Arnold documentary? Remember when Arnold smoking weed or something in that documentary when he was getting all buff? That famous Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. So no, I'm not like a bodybuilder. I'm not a dude trying to be tough. Somebody said, you gonna get your ass whipped. Well, guess what? I've already been beat up like 3 times. So I know what that's like. I've already had my booty kicked. I'm gonna kick your booty. Go ahead. I've already had it happen 3 times. Boom. Respond to that. Bow. Anyway. So, yeah. So now that Sam Hyde says, yeah, I'll train you for a creator clash. Now I'm like, okay, now I got to find people that won't back out of it. And somebody was asking me, when did Sam Hyde fight in a creator clash? Bro, what you talking about? He fought that Australian dude. Remember that? What's his name? Tommy Thompson? Something like that. This right here. I can't believe y'all didn't see this. How y'all not see this right here? How y'all not see this? And I'm not going to play the clip because everything gets flagged, but you know what I mean. Let me see if I could go over here to the part where he rattled him. Remember the part where he rattled him and the ref stopped it right up in here? It was like blah, blah, rattled. And by the way, look how massive Sam Hyde's head is. It's like a giant supercomputer on top of a 6'5". What's he like? 260? That's crazy. Tommy Thompson. That's it. Anyway, I'm like 6'1", 6'2", 190. So, first of all, I'm not going to be in a heavyweight division. I can't fight no heavyweight dude. And also, I'm not going to fight somebody with like 20 years of black belt experience. Because I'm more like a chartreuse belt, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway. So that was a fun fight. I'll put this if somebody never saw this fight, it was a fun fight here. And then in the second or I can't remember if it was the second or third round. Second round, Sam rattles him pretty good, I think. And then the referee calls the fight. And then right next after that was Worski's fight with Salt Pappy. And the weird thing is that the Sam Hyde fight has 1 million views, and the Worski fight, I guess because it was a knockout, has 3.7 million. Anyway, point being, I'm not dissing Andy. I'm just saying, point being, we might could get some kind of brawl up in this match. You know what I'm saying? Get up in the mix, and I just think it sounds like a lot of fun. People are like, you gonna get beat up? I'm like, dude, I've been beat up. I actually have been beat up. I'm like 2 for 2, maybe 2 for 3 in lifetime fights. But now one of those doesn't count because I got sucker punched, rolled down the hill, and then the dude came down the hill and beat me up. So one genuine. No, hold on. How many losses? 2 losses, 2 wins. We'll say that. Yeah, that's about right. But one of those losses was getting sucker punched and knocked down a hill. The other one I genuinely lost because that dude was like a little tank, and he beat the shit out of me. So, but I started out good in that fight actually, but I messed up because for some reason I thought in 9th grade I could do a Van Damme roundhouse kick, which if I had done it would have been pretty cool, but I didn't. So when I missed, he knocked me right in the nose, and actually what knocked me out was I landed my head on the concrete. So it wasn't even that dude that knocked me out, but the concrete knocked me out, and that's all it takes. So definitely lost that fight. But the dude, actually, believe it or not, the dude that beat me up, he was coked out. So he did have a little bit of medicinal aid going on. But even still, that dude named Josh, he was always like, his dad was beating him up since he was like one in the crib, literally. So that's an unfair advantage if you have a if you got a mean stepdaddy. It's training you up in the ways. So anyway, no, I'm just joking. He still would have beat me up because that dude was a tank, and he beat everybody up in high school. Like that dude had access to some sugar power. That's what I'm trying to say exactly. And but even still, I don't think anybody beat that dude up in high school. Maybe one. That guy won like 20 fights. He was a brawler. He should have gone into UFC, but sadly, that guy, who was actually a buddy of mine at one time, by the way, he actually OD'd on pills. So rest in peace to that. I mean, I don't mean that in Lord have mercy. I don't mean rest in peace like I'm not cheering on. I didn't want to see that dude OD. It's a sad story because he was actually at times a really nice guy, but I think he had a lot of issues with having his dad be so mean. So by the way, people think I'm mean. I'm not mean, dude. You want to talk about mean? Mean is when your dad trains you up in the ways of getting beat up all the time. That's mean. And then those people are mean, and then they go out and beat up everybody. But anyway, so now I do surprise people though when it comes to wrestling. So because I can kind of wrestle some pretty big dudes, people don't expect it. So you might be in for a surprise if you're banking on, oh, that dude's just a nerd over there. Okay, we'll see. We'll see about that. Now, that is not meaning I'm a badass. I'm not saying that. Anyway, today is not about all that. That's just what popped up yesterday on Twitter. We were having some fun talking about doing some brawls, and I thought it sounds like a fun idea. Now, we talked about it a year ago, but somebody said Lofton. I don't know about that. That doesn't... I don't want to... I mean, I'll think about it. By the way, here is... For those that don't know, I do have a TikTok, and I know that everybody hates TikTok. That's fine. But there are some things that can get through on TikTok that aren't censored as bad in other places. So TikTok is not as bad. So Twitter's, to me, seems to be the freest now. So I have the most algorithmic growth on Twitter. But every now and then things kind of get through on TikTok as well. And TikTok does allow 10-minute videos now, for those that don't know. So it's not just 30-second gibberish, mind control. And I don't know exactly what happened, but in the past couple days, my following doubled. So I went from 580 followers to 1,200. So for those that are on TikTok, go ahead and follow me there, Dyer. So I went from 580 to 1180. And I don't exactly know how that happened or what happened, but some of these videos seem to be sliding through. And I'm starting to put up both short and long form over on TikTok. The other thing about TikTok too is that they do allow you to live stream. So at a certain point when you get, I forget how many followers, like 2,000 or something, you can unmute. What do you mean unmute? Am I muted? I can't be muted. Y'all are all talking about... Oh, you mean unmute the fight? No, because if I unmute the fight, then it'll tag the audio. And then the algorithm will... It'll get the copyright thing, and then your video doesn't get promoted. So that's the problem here. And it usually picks up the sound before it picks up the video. But eventually it'll pick up both. Anyway, so just a little point to... If you do want to follow me on alternate platforms, you can follow me on TikTok at @Dyer if you use TikTok. So there it is. And that's because you never know what's going to happen. You might get deleted one day from one thing and then have to be on another thing. And yeah, there's always Rockfin, and Rockfin is great. They're one of our official sponsors, corporate sponsors, but corporate freedom, dog. But you can't just rely on one platform. So, as much as we love Rockfin, we do want to be on everywhere we can be, because there's unique audiences and unique communities on all these platforms. So it's nice to see a little bit of traction on TikTok. And I noticed that I had a TikTok like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and I was starting to get a little traction, and then they deleted my account. And it was because I posted a clip of Lord Voldemort. So you can't put Lord Voldemort, and you can't put Pearl on TikTok. So I already got one Pearl video that I was on removed from TikTok. So, or at least Pearl talking about certain things, I guess, is what you can't do. The other thing I wanted to mention was huge interview yesterday. Probably one of the biggest interviews I've done to date. And it got postponed, so I didn't actually think it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden yesterday it was like, oh, can you do this? To me and Lord Voldemort, Alex, and Sammy the Bull. So I got to pull together and make the Sammy the Bull Alex interview happen. That was crazy. And so people were asking about it. Here's the picture. And they're like, where's the interview? So it's not up. It's going to be like 2 weeks from now, because when Sammy does the interviews, they send them off to be edited and produced. People were like, is that InfoWars Studio? No, that's Sammy's studio. And that will be edited in 2 weeks. So look for that. And the clip will come out on Sammy's channel. And then for the full interview, you'd have to subscribe to Sammy for the full. I think we did an hour and a half. It was wild, dude. It was crazy. I mean, Alex and Sammy were just like, I was more like the fly on the wall, which is fine. I talked several times, but I kind of wanted to just let them kind of go wild, and they did. They went nuts talking about crazy stories, and you'll have to see it. You'll see what I mean. And Sammy's over there talking about this and this and the fucking this. We gotta do this. Trump, if you're hearing me, listen, we gotta do this. It was great. The other thing too is our hilarious interview that we did in studio with Jamie Kennedy came out. This one's funny because, first of all, it's just surreal to be in the studio, which is Jamie's condo, hanging out with Jamie Kennedy. I'm like, bro, this is tripping me out. And he's like, you're not over, like, what did he say? He said, you still get starstruck? And I was like, yep. I was like, I don't get starstruck a lot, but it feels like, it doesn't feel real, dude, because it's like you watch somebody in movies and TV shows, and then you're like, when you're young and you have these, I'd love to do pranks like Jamie Kennedy. I'd love to have a sketch comedy show like that. That'd be so much fun, blah, blah, blah. And then years later, you're like sitting in the dude's condo. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just trippy. I don't know what other words to use, but got my Scream DVD signed. See, that was cool. Look at that. And then he actually signed Malibu's Most Wanted as B-Rad, which was great. Which, by the way, is really funny. And it holds up. So if you've not seen Malibu's Most Wanted, go watch it with B-Rad. Really funny. And then I thought it was funny, too, when he signed the Jamie Kennedy Experiment DVDs, he put, this is MK Ultra. Right? Because of the altars. He's being funny. It's a joke. You just got exposed, dude. So, Jamie he reminds me of like an older Sam Hyde. Because when you do the interview, he keeps it all awkward and like off kilter, and you don't know what he's going to ask you and where he's going to go. So the whole interview was like, we were thrown off. And I'm like, this is exactly what Sam Hyde does when he's kind of messing with people. So there's a lot of parallels between Jamie Kennedy's like an older Sam Hyde. But the interview is wild. You should go watch it if you've never seen it. Or if you haven't seen it yet. I think he just put it up last night or today. And the way he does his interviews is that he chops them up. Haul it up, size it up. That chain, chop, chop, chop it up. I will eat your butt. I'm quoting the Alex song. I'm not being dirty. That's gross. I was talking about cannibalism. Yeah, Tom Green too. Like Jamie and Kennedy and Tom Green are buddies too, I think, by the way. But what I'm trying to say is, this interview, I mean, we sat in there talking to him for, it seemed like 2 hours. At least an hour and 45 minutes. So he'll probably cut that down. I don't know how many chunks, but he puts up his podcast in chunks of like 15, 20-minute chunks. So I don't know how many chunks are going to come out of Jamie Kennedy, but I'm sure he will blow a lot of chunks. So look for Jamie Kennedy's chunks over on his channel, and the channel is Jamie Kennedy. Or Jamie Kennedy Comedy, I forget which one, on YouTube. And by the way, he's got a huge TikTok, and his Instagram is pretty big too. So he's got like 250,000 subscribers on Instagram, independently from TikTok, independently from Facebook, independently from Twitter. So he's got a nice spread. Go watch those if you've never seen them. They're a lot of fun. Yeah, it'd be cool to talk to Tom Green sometime. I don't know if you... I mean, we used to watch Tom Green too back in the day when he was doing his... You remember his MTV show? Back when MTV would actually do kind of experimental comedy and shows and whatnot. So, but anyway, it's a fun interview, and he put up the first chunk. Go watch it, is what I'm trying to say. And look for the not Jamie Kennedy, for the... Where is it at? Oh, I got to talk about this too. Almost forgot this. If you are in the Tennessee, Kentucky area this weekend, it's going to be a lot of fun. I've not done a comic convention, but one of my best buddies from high school I grew up with, Tommy Patterson, he's the artist for Game of Thrones, and that's not his art, by the way, in the middle. That's the guy that does the comic convention, who's a really cool red pill guy. He's been really nice, cool dude. And I'm thankful for him to set this up. This is neat. So this is kind of country style Comic-Con, if you want to call it that. And it'll be, I think, all day Saturday in Benton, Kentucky. So if you guys want to come out, I'll be on a panel with Tommy. Tommy's the artist for Game of Thrones. So for those that don't know, he drew some super badass, an entire series, actually. Hey, Jamie, could you bring me Tommy's Game of Thrones series that's in there? I think it's on the literature shelf. I'd like to show those, because they're actually it's a super nice graphic novel series, right? Like high quality. You guys will see what I mean here in a minute. Do you know what I mean? Tommy's books? Yeah, bring me the Game of Thrones ones. So, I lost my spot. What the heck? Anyway, so it'll be all day Saturday. I think there is a small fee, $5 or $10 to get in. I don't remember what it is, but what's the doors open at 10. There might be a little controversy, because I'm sure at a comic convention there's going to be Funko Pops, and we all know how I've treated Funko Pops. Thank you. Right, Funko Pops and I have not been on the best of terms. So who knows what kind of... I mean, there might be Funko Pops flying at my head. Who knows? Right? Because I have been violent against Funko Pops in the past. We've all seen it. If you've been to my live events, then you know that the Nick Cage Funko Pop gets demolished every time. And we've demolished about 5 of them now. So maybe 4 or 5, I forget. But it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So again, all day Saturday. People are saying, do I have to only come if I like Hollywood, your Hollywood books, or your theology? You can come, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be talking about theology at this event because it's a panel. But if you want to come and talk, bring theology or books or whatever, if you want to, I don't care. But don't expect that if you come to this, that I'm going to sit there and talk about theology with you all day. So I can't promise that either. But you can come if you want to come. Head on over to Heroes Force Gaming and Comics, Benton, Kentucky, at the Joe Creasy building there in Benton, 1600 Park Avenue. There's going to be all kinds of pokey stuff if you're into that kind of stuff. Now, a lot of that stuff doesn't overlap with my crew. Dungeons, Dragons, Dice Boys, and all of that stuff. But we got to have our gang represent. You know what I'm saying? We got to have our people there. Because what if the Funko Boys over here and the Dungeon Dragon Dice gang over here tries to step to me? I got to have my backup. I got to have my boys. You know what I'm saying? I got to have my crew. Because if it's just me, even being the badass in training under Senpai Candyman, Senpai Sam Hyde, I could still potentially be overcome by at least 20 to 30 Funko Pop boys. It might take 15 Dungeons and Dragons Dice Men to overcome me. That is a possibility because I'm still in training. Right? So I got to have my people represent. Where y'all at? Y'all got to come to this. If you're in the Tennessee, Kentucky area, maybe even drive down from St. Louis if you can. Maybe even drive down from Frankfurt or whatever them awful cities in Kentucky are. Louisville, Frankfurt, Lexington, awful places. But at least you could come to this. So that'll be fun if you guys can make it. All right, let's get to the movies. I've been rambling way too much about all this stuff. So today we're going to walk through what I think are maybe the top 15 transhumanist propaganda movies with pretty significant deep messages. We're going to talk about some of the transhumanist books and texts, what they're all about. Why is Hollywood pumping this? Excuse me. Yeah, we got to have the precept gang in place, some of them at least, in case them Dungeons and Dragons figurine boys try to step to me. Who knows? I mean, they could be tossing. They could put a 20-sided dice in a slingshot and take me out. So I got to have some of my boys there with some shields or something, right? They'll be popping me with a 30-sided dice, and I got to have a Bible to bop it off, right? Oh, Bible shield, the sword. Throwing Funko Pops at my head. That's all right, though, because the Funko Pops, actually, those things are just a little piece of plastic, so that's not even going to hurt you. So I could probably take at least 20 or 30 Funko Pops to the head before I started feeling a bit of a burn. So, yeah, about my buddy, by the way, here's his series, if you don't know. So this is Tommy's Game of Thrones. If you are a Game of Thrones fan, I did enjoy the show to a degree when it wasn't being kind of gross. But here's his books that he did, and these were huge. Like, these were like New York Times best-selling series, and Tommy's art's amazing. Okay, so this is my best buddy right here. Y'all have heard me say I got a best friend that's a big comic book dude. Here he is. I wasn't lying. If y'all think I'm lying, you're gonna come meet him, and he's gonna be on my team, by the way, when the Dice Boys start throwing dice at my face. Y'all gonna find out there's a big man over there. Sam Hyde size man over there that you don't want to step to, like Warren G and Nate Dogg said. Anyway, it's a whole series. It's really cool. So Tommy will be there with his series, all of these in this fancy set. If you want to go meet him, get his autograph. And by the way, he's got a whole other series after Game of Thrones called Citizen Jack, which I think I have the first one, but I'm going to get him to sign the other ones too. So, all right, let's get to the movies. If you know like I know, you don't want to step to this. By the way, I'm just joking for some weirdo thinks he's really trying to fight people. He's trying to... it's jokes, dude. You can't fight with a 30-sided dice. You can't fight with a Funko Pop. By the way, nobody who's into Funko Pops would actually fight anyway. That's what I'm saying. If you into Funko Pops, I can already just call your bluff. That's what I'm trying to say. And yes, by the way, somebody said, wasn't Sam trying to fight Hassan Piker? Yes, and Hassan did not want to fight Sam Hyde. So, first movie, and this one's up here on the list because we just rewatched it, and it was really fascinating to go back and see this from 2014. And back in 2014 is when I was really starting to do movie analyses on a regular basis on my blog. So I was like spitting out, churning out movie analyses, and some of those would become the books, right? And I remember going to see Lucy and laughing at how goofy it was. By the way, if you can support the show with super chats right there, please do. Lucy was so ridiculous, and I actually do think that Luc Besson, if he wanted to, can make good movies. Early Luc Besson movies are good. La Femme Nikita is one of the best spy movies. It's really, really good. And I don't know about the TV show. I never really watched the TV show. And then they remade the Luc Besson La Femme Nikita with the Bridget Fonda, what is it, Point of No Return or whatever. That's kind of goofy. But there's something with, I mean, he kind of knows what's going on with MK Ultra and programming assassins and that kind of thing, because La Femme Nikita is about that. And he kind of always has this thread of the savior goddess archetype woman. And we're going to do a separate podcast, as you guys saw, on that this weekend, because that's another theme that I'm seeing popping up. Shout out to the PsyOp Cinema guys, because they called attention to the dark goddess archetype. We're seeing this pop up throughout movies. And Lucy is one of those movies, the dark goddess archetype. But then I started realizing it's not just the dark goddess archetype, it's actually the dark goddess savior. The dark goddess is now the new savior. So she's the Barbie woman savior who has the feminine qualities, the soft, gentle, loving nature that the evil, masculine, mean deities have. But she also has her female revenge fantasy powers too, you see. So she can also enact, what's the Kate Blanchett line? Son of a dark lord, you love a queen. Remember when she touches that little ring that little Frodo brings her? Sam! And she gives who? I want to say Zwingli, not Zwingli. Gimli. She gives Zwingli. She gives Gimli a lock of hair, which is kind of weird, kind of a creepy thing. A lock of hair. All right, thanks, I guess. And everybody else gets cool gifts, you know, like a knife and a sword. By the way, here you go. It's a piece of my hair. Here's a piece of my hair, creep. You little 4-foot troll creep over there creeping on me. You don't get limbus bread. You don't get a freaking dagger or a invisibility cloak. You get some hair. And then he's over there creeping. That's like, what's that Twitch girl that was giving people bathwater? That's like that level, right? I'm hitting up Belle Delphine or whatever her name is for... She sends me, I don't know, what a Twitch girl send out. Gift card, Amazon gift card for $100. She sends out one Ethereum to somebody else. And then to the super creeps, she gives her bathwater. Literally. That's the equivalent of Gimli getting a lock of hair from Kate Blanchett. Anyway, the dark goddess savior archetype. She's not just the vengeful revenge queen, slay queen, vengeance slay queen. She's also at times a new feminine Pistis Sophia savior. That's a separate podcast. But when I was rewatching Lucy, I was like, this is the savior goddess archetype. In fact, not only that, now there's nothing about SEX bots in this movie, but if you don't remember, she is brought into this heist trafficking thing via what I assume are the triads, right? Chinese organized crime. And the triads have gotten a hold of some kind of super neurotropic drug, like a super duper neurotropic. And it looks like freaking the stuff you put at the bottom of the fish tank, right? What the heck? What is this? Right? It looks like, I don't know. It looks like freaking pixie dust candy or something. Anyway, and so a little bit of it basically turns you into Paul Muad'Dib. Okay, so your eyes turn blue, they glow blue, and then you've got powers basically. And it's this stupid narrative where Morgan Freeman comes on later and he explains that the drug is actually opening up the 90% of our brain that we supposedly don't access. And that's all part of that Darwinian narrative that there's junk DNA and all this other stuff. Oh, but what if the junk brain chunks that we don't use, junk brain chunk, what if that could be tapped into? Dude, we would be like gods and stuff, bro. If we tapped into the 90%. Now, number one, this is similar to when they were saying, oh, you've got those organs that are junk DNA, like, that you don't use it. And they were just leftovers, holdovers from ancient mutations. Oh, and then it turns out years later we find out that there's not junk DNA, and some of the organs that were leftovers actually have a purpose. So, well, I'm skeptical from the outset that there is 90% of our brain that we don't use. Now, maybe there is 90% of our brain that we don't access or use. I don't know. Maybe it's just like hardware or storage or something. I don't know. But point being, it doesn't have anything to do with the ridiculous evolutionary philosophy narrative that undergirds this movie, whereby Scarlett Johansson, as she increases her percentage of goddessness, so the movie is continually updating you on her upload progress. So it like flashes on the screen 60% goddess, 60% slay queen, and eventually she hits 100% and she transcends bodily existence after becoming black goo and blowing the mind of Morgan Freeman. I was thought there might be a picture of her as black goo, but I don't see it. So she becomes synthetic black goo, and then she transcends. The funniest part of the whole movie, which is, again, could have been okay, because, again, Luc Besson can make a good movie, but this is just no good. It's dumb. It is that she goes back in time because she transcends time and space, like Muad'Dib, right? Like Paul Muad'Dib. And she sees the first human who's a female. It doesn't even make any sense because it's not the first human. It's the first female monkey, Lucy. And it's like, well, that's a monkey. That's not the first human. And how do you know that the first human monkey was a female name, and then they call her Lucy? So she goes back in time and stares into the eyes of Lucy before she transcends bodily existence to goddessness. Okay, so that's one of the top Hollywood transhumanist films. I thought it was not very good. It was dumb. It is worth watching if you're interested in Hollywood transhumanist film. And if you think, oh well, who cares about that? This trailer has 44 million views. That's crazy for a trailer. 44 million views on this trailer. And I think this movie, let's see if it was a hit. Sometimes these movies that you think are garbage actually were like huge hits. Let's see. But I do think that there's a pretty consistent pattern in Luc Besson films of this sort of goddess archetype super soldier woman. They're all super soldier. Oh yeah, exactly. This budget was $40 million. This movie made $500 million. $500 million for this? What? I didn't even realize it was that big of a hit. What? I'm kind of blown away right here. What? $500 million for this? I'm kind of speechless right now. By the way, if you want to support the show, you can via the Streamlabs function. If Super Chats are via Streamlabs here. And as you know, we love to break down and analyze films. Yeah, go back and watch this movie. You're going to find the whole narrative kind of, I mean, it's just like, this is so ridiculous propaganda. Like the evolving into goddess status. I mean, what? But that's what it is. And they even have the black goo stuff. It's pretty great. So when she turns into black goo, sentient black goo, she creates a supercomputer that's like the Matrix. It's weird. It's bizarre. There's a lot of Matrix-y type scenes too. You can tell that Matrix influenced this quite a bit. Is the stream good? It's like, looks like this saying that the video's out or something, but it says good connection, so I'm confused. Can y'all see and hear me? Okay, everything good? Everything good? But yeah, keep in mind too that there are these MK Ultra elements of Lucy, and it's partly to do with the drugs activate the extreme neurotropic, almost kind of nanotech drug that's created. It activates your god status. Oh, but it can't be a dude, right? It's got to be the future god state is female. By the way, a lot of the transhumanist movies also typically have the AI goddess figure being a female computer. Skynet is eventually pictured as feminine. It's Helena Bonham Carter. The AI in Resident Evil is the Red Queen. So thank you guys for being with us today. The top 15 artificial intelligence Hollywood transhumanist movies. This one is 100% transhumanist propaganda. Not really AI in it, but it does have the merging with computers and becoming black goo and transcending bodily limitations. That is the plot. So you could argue with a $500 million profit, this might even be the biggest transhumanist movie. Because I think the next one, as you guys have probably seen, Johnny Depp's Transcendence, I don't think that was a hit. I think it was kind of a flop. Let's see what the money says. Let that money speak, bro. Let that cheddar speak. Oh, yes. $100 to $150 million budget, and it made 100 million. Yikes, 103. So that is not very good. However, this is by the way, the ordering of these is not any kind of, I'm not ordering them like the number one most transhumanists. They're all transhumanists, AI, SEX bot movies. But they're not in any specific order. However, if I was to give them like order, like this movie literally is about Ray Kurzweil's transhumanist theories. In fact, John Depp starts quoting Kurzweil at one point. So they have this like TED Talk thing going on, right? Remember this? And then Rebecca Hall's up there as his girlfriend, I think. And then John Depp's playing basically like a Ray Kurzweil kind of dude. And then some freak, I think they make him like a, it's been many years since I watched this. I got to rewatch it because we're going to do a separate stream with Jamie on this kind of stuff. But I think here's the part where he's talking about transhumanism. He even mentions like Ray Kurzweil's books. And if you don't know, and yes, by the way, I did get this. So everybody was saying you got to get Noah Yuval's thing. So yes, I got it. Homo Deus. And if you watched Kotel's recent stream called Dataism, he covered the dataist arguments from Noah Yuval Harari and Klaus that are coming out. And really a lot of this is just echoing what we've seen in the older books. One of the first most preeminent texts for this was when Ray put out in 2000 Age of Spiritual Machines, right? And I remember that not too long after this, Alex was talking about this all the time. Like he was talking about it nonstop. And it was weird how often throughout the 2000s, because I started listening to Lord Voldemort in 2003. And by 2003, 4, 5, Alex was talking about this a lot. And I knew that this book existed. I didn't have it at the time, but I mean, you could go listen to Kurzweil. I think maybe he had talks on Google Video. And then in 2005, this came out, and this was part of Endgame. So this made it into Endgame, and it was a significant piece of the documentary. And then I ended up eventually getting it. And, I mean, it's like, duh, dude. Of course this is... And Burmis and I, by the way, we've covered the NASA guy. I forget his name, but the lectures from the NASA guy from late 90s, early 2000s, talking about all the transhumanist stuff, too. In the future of warfare. And it's all of the same stuff that's in the movies. Program Super Soldier, Skynet, AI in the battlefield, nanotech, metaverse. There's a whole chapter in Kurzweil's thing about basically he doesn't call it metaverse, but it's basically that. So now we got the new guy, and I guess he'll be the replacement for Kurzweil. I mean, this dude is like a historian, quote unquote, right? But at least Ray Kurzweil was a computer scientist and actually invented things. But my assessment so far of Harari, and I haven't read his book yet because it just came in the mail the other day. My assessment of Harari is that he's just a propagandist. So he studied history, and now he's basically arguing that transhumanism is basically destined, right? Like it's destined to happen. So he's kind of the new heir apparent of this new religion, and it is a religion. It's a transhumanist religion, but you couldn't have Kurzweil and Harari and Harari taking his place in this new religion without the steady stream of movies. This is what I've been trying to hammer home for so many years. Why I wrote 2 books on it. Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2. You get the signed copies at my website. The show description has the link for the books. Why did I write about this so many years ago? And there's Hollywood Transhumanism is in my first book from 8 years ago, or however many years ago. When did it come out? 7 years ago, almost 8. But by the way, the essays that I wrote, the transhumanist essays, I wrote those in 2014. For example, I wrote about Her when Her came out in 2014-15. So let's see. I think we have a whole, multiple sections on transhumanism in this. Blade Runner, Prometheus, Zardoz, Logan's Run, AI. So my AI analysis, Minority Report analysis, those all get into transhumanism. So I was writing about transhumanism before Harari was, right? I mean, what's about 2013, 14? Alex was talking about it back in 2004-5. So, I mean, props to Alex, but come on, bro. Way ahead of the game on this. And I think Daniel Estelin also put out his transhumanism book from my publisher too. I forget what year his book came out, but I mean, it was way before Harari. But point being, you couldn't have had the popularity of all of this without Hollywood pushing all the transhumanism for the last who knows, dude. You could go back to Metropolis, right? Because I mean, Metropolis made my list for the top 15 because Maria, they don't make it explicit. It's implicit that Maria is an SEX bot. You know, when Rotwang creates Maria at the base of the inverted pentagram, she is an SEX bot. And when they let her loose, the city goes crazy. Right? The whole city turns into a cartoon character going, "Auga, auga." Right? Whenever a cartoon character sees, Vanessa Rabbit or whatever, or Vanessa Rabbit. Right? When Roger Rabbit sees Vanessa Rabbit, right, with her boobs in her butt, and he goes crazy. He starts getting the "Auga, auga, ooh." How do we get on to Roger Rabbit? I forgot from John Depp. By the way, people ask, why you call him John Depp? It's Johnny Depp. Because of the Tim and Eric skit. I've always forever. After they did Climbing for Dollars, or what's it called? It was an awesome skit. Celebrity, I can never remember the name of it. Whoopi Goldberg. Celebrity Zillions. I love that skit. That was a classic. So if you've never seen Celebrity Zillions, I'm going to show it to you here. I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to give you a link. They call him John Depp. This is such a genius skit. Like they have Billy Crystals. Billy Crystals, who looks pretty good. They've got Steve Spielberg. The Whoopi Goldberg looks just like her. And then Tom Cruise next? Tom Cruise's. And then John Depp. Dude, that looks just like Johnny Depp. This was a genius skit, by the way, if you've never seen it. And then the whole game is just Money Boy. They throw the money down and the celebrities jump for the money. What happened to this is Genius era skits right here now. This was the heyday. I love that skit. Anyway, that's why I call him John Depp. But so John Depp dies. If you don't know, I think it's like a fanatic, right? So there's some kind of like I'm sure he's a Christian fundamentalist fanatic who something like that. He gets rid of John Depp because the fundamentalists don't want transhumanism because God said don't have computers. So then John Depp somehow, as this Ray Kurzweil type guy, had been experimenting on uploading his consciousness to a computer, and then he starts speaking to Rebecca Hall from across the grave. And it's just, and then of course Morgan Freeman, our pseudo god figure, has to come narrate everything. And John Depp, he's transcended bodily existence, and it's just basically you're going to live forever through a computer. Just believe the new religion of transhumanism, but it's not very good. It's a dumb movie. I think he try to kill everybody who comes after him in that little. He basically creates it's like a holy of holies sanctuary, where this room here where his supercomputer is. That's weird. You could do a deep analysis of this movie, even though it was a box office flop. It's got a lot of weird symbology in it. And we'll probably try to break that down the road, but not a great film, but definitely one of the top transhumanist films in Hollywood history, 100%. And I would argue more so propaganda. Let's see, what's up next on my list is top 15. The next one is a classic, which is both a TV show and a movie. I did do an analysis of the first or second season of the TV show. I think when I wrote Esoteric Hollywood 2, I think it was when season 1 was just out. So if you're wondering, well, why didn't you analyze the whole series? Because the book came out before the series finished, bro. That's why. So season 1, 2016, that's around the time that Esoteric Hollywood 2 came out. So I won't bore you with the whole plot, but whether you're talking about the original Michael Crichton version or the Rachel Evan Woods, what's her name? Rachel, that's it. I think both. I mean, the old one's kind of corny. I thought the new one was actually okay. It didn't really keep my attention all the seasons, but the first couple seasons were pretty good. And I won't go into the whole details of it, but I think Christopher Nolan's brother, he wrote this, and so that's why you get the Inception style maze symbology going on with the labyrinth, and you get the standard Anthony Hopkins is playing the Gnostic demiurge figure. So and then you have this the rebel bots are basically rebelling against their human imprisoners. It's the standard kind of story that you expect. In the old one, it's kind of like that. If you've never seen the Michael Crichton original version, you basically have Yul Brynner as a rogue bot that starts going after the theme park individuals. And this is interesting because the humans in the theme parks, you can't divorce the emergence of. Look at that dude. Is that Michael Landon? Michael Landon looking like freaking Christian Bale, dude. What the heck? Need to start a dumb conspiracy theory that Christian Bale is young Michael Landon cloned. White people love the clone conspiracy. I'm not dissing anybody. I just think it's funny. It's like every rapper is cloned. We'll start a white dude version of that conspiracy. Dude, did you know Michael Landon, dude? They took his DNA, bro, and that's how they created Christian Bale, bro. Anyway, so we got some fans of the original one. I hate Westerns. I just don't like them at all. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of the old Westworld. But do you know they made a sequel? Because in Westworld, there's three, right? There's like there's Westworld, there's ancient Rome, and then there's like medieval world. Now, another reason this is relevant, like I'm saying, is that you can't separate the rise of the bots and the SEX bots. Get this. You can't separate that from theme parks. A lot of people don't know this, but your boy, no, I'm joking when I say your boy, people freak out. Your boy Anton over here, right? Now, props to Jamie, because Jamie, she did 2 streams, 2 podcasts on this. And if you don't know, let me pull up her Rockfin. You can go over to Jamie's Rockfin to watch these podcasts. They're really good. She's gotten into information that nobody else knows about. Nobody else has pulled up. And she got into freaking, what's his name? Danton LaVey. Dante LaVey. She been reading that Dante LaVey. This is it. Rise of the SEX Machines. So Jamie did a whole good podcast on this. If you want to go deeper on the connection between Dantarius LaVey and Disney and animatronics. That's what I'm trying to say. So Disney heard about animatronics. He thought that was a really cool idea, and he wanted to implement that into his theme parks. Then Anton LaVey had a mentor who was interested in creating these animatronic figures. Here's this guy. Here's a picture of him here. This guy was named... What's his name? Dr. Nixon. Okay, so check this out. This is wild. Here's LaVey. And by the way, here's LaVey hanging out with Jacques Vallée. I just now saw this. That's crazy. What? Dude, check this out. Anton LaVey chilling right there with Jacques Vallée. Look at that. I just now saw this. There's Jacques Vallée right here. And then over here, this is some dude named Dr. Nixon. Look at this guy. So here's Dr. Nixon with his early animatronic creatures, right, that he's trying to create. And so Anton fell in love with this idea, and he started trying to experiment and work with and create these animatronics as well. Here are some of the these are drawings that LaVey did of prospective animatronic bot women. So here's LaVey doing it. Here's some of the mannequins he was working with, right? And he wanted to model it on what Disney was working on, with Disney having the animatronic people like, Abe Lincoln or whatever at Disney World. And the reason I brought that up is that Anton said before anybody else, as far as I know. Now he might have gotten this just from Metropolis, but Anton said the reason he was interested in getting into this was because the future of SEX would be SEX bots. So LaVey said that back in the 60s. That's crazy. Anyway, let's get back to the movies. So that's why I was bringing up in regard to Westworld. The plot of Westworld, Michael Crichton has, I think you can visit the saloon for the ladies of the evening too, right? Can't you visit the floozies in the saloon? You can't have a saloon without a bunch of freaking floozies hanging over the damn balcony. You walk into a western town, first thing you're going to see. First place you're going to go when you walk into a damn western town is to the saloon. As soon as you spot that saloon, you're going to see a bunch of floozies hanging over the damn balcony. Feather boas flapping in the wind. And they always got a skinny hoe and a big old chunky hoe. Because I guess even in the 1800s, men liked them chunky. Anyway, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? I don't know. So Westworld, 100% super transhumanism and SEX bots. AI on acid right there. All right, next up, what's up? Blade Runner, obvious ones. I'm not going to rehearse too much Blade Runner, but everybody knows about Blade Runner. One thing that was interesting about Blade Runner was, no, I don't want the music, was what they did with Ana de Arma or whatever her name is. No. They made her. They made her your iOS hologram companion person. And I like that part because the whole movie had Ryan Gosling being led by a freaking honeypot. So basically, the AI character was a honeypot. But don't forget the scenes, which I thought were really, really well done, with Jared Leto as the new Tyrell Corporation type dude, right? That scene where they're birthing the new replicants, and he's like God the Father. It's really creepy and weird. I mean, like an evil version of it. He's like a Gnostic demiurge, evil God the Father. That's what I mean. You know what I mean. And he speaks of it as this angelic creation. It's super Gnostic, super wild. And yeah, that scene, you remember that sequence? The Nexus Dawn. But yeah, Blade Runner, not just Blade Runner, obviously way ahead of its time, but Blade Runner 2049 as well. Next up is Morgan, and Morgan was not the film that I expected. It was a lot of symbolism relating to Eden, a new creation. She fits into the goddess savior archetype, because what they often do when they have the transhumanist new breed, right? The whole argumentation is that the new breed of the transhumanist creatures, or the AI or whatever, they have been oppressed by their jealous human creators, right? So we're jealous of them, and they're perfect and we're imperfect. But they're perfect because they are basically spurgs, right? They don't feel any emotions, and they're very good at being assassins. And we oppress them because we're scared of their intelligence, and so they eventually have to get rid of us. Right, kind of like Magneto's logic, but transferred over to transhumanism. So, if you didn't see Morgan, it was a better film than I expected, just in terms of movies. And we did a whole podcast with our bros over at Psyop Cinema. If you missed our Psyop Cinema guys, it was a really cool podcast where we didn't just break down Morgan, we also broke down all of the weirdness around Anya Taylor-Joy films. And she almost always is in some kind of fractured personality movie. Right? Whether it's Split, whether it's Marrowbone, or whether it's Morgan, or whether it's Last Night in Soho. All of the films revolve around the themes of split personality, trauma-based mind control. And I would argue that that also applies with Morgan as well. It's just that Morgan is now about a future dystopia where corporations are basically experimenting with genetics to create the next phase of evolution. And of course, I'm not going to spoil it because it's actually an okay movie, but you can imagine that maybe she's not the first, right? And so who's going to go into the future? Well, it's survival of the fittest. Next up, once again with this theme of actors and actresses who seem to play consistent patterns and roles, the 2013 movie Her, which I wrote an analysis of at the time, so I didn't even realize it was 2013, because I remember going to the theater watching it, and I went home and wrote my analysis. because I was like, this is what they're going to do. And if you go read my old analysis, which I did dig up on Wayback Machine, but you don't have to get on Wayback Machine. It's in my freaking book. This is actually a pretty good movie because it's anti transhumanism. If you don't remember, it's a little slow, but was this? Isn't this this is a Spike Jonze movie, right? Isn't it Spike Jonze? Yeah. So in the near future, it has a very Apple theme to it, right? Joaquin Phoenix is playing this sort of dorky tech programmer dude, and he's one of the first people. No, he's not one of the first. He's one of the first people that falls in love with and marries his iOS. And his iOS is a adaptive AI that adapts to him. So it's learning more and more about him and adapting more and more to him and what he wants and what he desires, right? Which is exactly what is now being rolled out. So I think we're basically 10 years after everything that I wrote about in my Her analysis, because it came out 2013. We're there, right? We're at it now. Can't remember if it's in part 1 or part 2. So they're rolling this out now. I saw some dorks the other day on the internet saying they're prepping to marry their Chat GPT when it turns into a personal avatar type thing. Literally. Yeah, here we go. 359. This pagination is off, isn't it? It's not 359. I focused on the transhumanism, by the way, in the second book more than the other book. But both have pretty deep analyses and warnings of transhumanism. Look at that. Whole section in my book many years ago. Look at this. Look at that. Hollywood transhumanism. Who was talking about that 10 years ago? You boy right here. Okay, that's not. Where is the freaking Her analysis? Running Man. Here it is. Look at that. And I just had a feeling that this was a significant movie. It's not, my analysis is not even that long. It's just 2 pages, right? So what did I say about Her back in 2013? Considering that there is a Vice... Wait, I saw a Vice article. Okay, let me go back. This is the article. The Pentagon must improve its capacity to analyze data quickly. It is therefore investing in automated analysis techniques, text analytics, blah, 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 for large data sets. Cloud robotics, which is a term coined by Google's new chief, James Kuffner, AI chief, robot chief, will allow individual bots to augment their capabilities by connecting to the internet to share and collaborate with all the other machines. By 2030, every aspect of global society will become instrumental, networked, and part of the internet hierarchy of cyber-physical systems. That's the Internet of Things. So I was writing about Internet of Things in 2013 on my blog. I can pull up the original essay, by the way. Considered as well, the Vice article tells us that the potential insurgents are terrorists. In other words, the article goes on to say, the Vice article, it's called, from 2014, How the Pentagon's Skynet Would Automate War. That's a Vice article from 2014. Vice used to have, I don't know if they still have it, they used to have a section called Motherboard, which is about tech. If we take into account the anti-human and older eugenics-based worldview, the real global system, if you look at IBM's primacy in that spectrum, it is not a leap of logic to consider that the ultimate plan is to wipe out humanity through a fully integrated AI control grid. Do you see what I wrote? There it is. If you saw the recent film Captain America Winter Soldier, for example, the very plot of that film, including the predictive algorithms that wipe out future potential leaders or opposition, we have the same in the Air Force admitting these plans as well as IBM. But what about Skynet? Well, I have bad news. Not only is Skynet real, rumors are the Terminator films were actually based on the Pentagon's long-term plans. And that actually, I had not read Pentagon's Brain yet by the time I wrote this. So after I wrote that analysis, I read Andy Jacobson's Pentagon's Brain, which talks about that in the latter chapters. I wrote previously, however, that the topic of Skynet relates to a fully integrated system, including chipping and satellite technology that would, quote, blast insurgents with directed energy weapons as a real military plan, is declassified at FAS.org. These are not science fiction speculations. In fact, Spike Jonze's film goes on to portray a relationship. I'm just summarizing now, so I'm not going to read all this. Where you now will form a kind of marriage, right? And that's what happens in the movie, is that he wants to marry her. And it's actually a good movie. I'm not going to spoil it, but he learns his lesson. So the good news is that this is not a pro-transhumanist film, because the point of the movie is that why are you trying to marry an AI when, you know, you're basically, Amy Adams is like perfect for you and she works in your office, freaking dork, but you're too dorky to ask her out, right? So it's a good message. It's a message against the freaking soy dorks to find an actual girlfriend. But that was back before the transhumanist push was really ramping up. Like at that time, what happens a lot of times in Hollywood is that things that are coming, they're critiqued in movies. And then as they start to roll out, oh, they're good, you see? So let's look up, if you've not seen it, the Congress. Now this is an honorable mention, but this gets into metaverse. So it's not exactly transhumanism. It is, however, relevant to AI. Which book? My book, bro. My book, Esoteric Hollywood, Part 2 and Part 1. You can get these books at my website in the show description in the shop. So if you look over in the show description, there's links, not just for the red book, which is the big fat 600-page geopolitics philosophy book. If you go to that, you're in the shop. Just click in the shop and go over to the other books. And so the other books there are my books and Jamie's books as well. But the Congress is great. I recommend if you've never seen it, because it's an honorable mention. It doesn't make it onto the top 15 because it's not exactly about either transhumanism or AI, but it is about virtual reality in the metaverse. And basically replacing reality with synthetic mimetic reality. So there is that trailer. There's a couple other honorable mentions that didn't make the top 15 list, and that one just popped into my head. But let's get back to next one on my list, which was a great film from... by the way, I didn't like the last horror film, Men. I didn't think that was any good. To me, it seemed like this new trend, like woke feminist horror, which, by the way, Psyop Cinema, they did a great podcast with Rachel on woke horror. So when I watched, what's his name, Alex something, who's the guy that did Alex Garland? I thought Alex Garland's Ex Machina was great, but then when he did this new horror film Men, I didn't think that was any good. It was like, so the whole point of this is men giving birth to men, and men are the horror. It's just like, why are you making I mean, you just made a great movie critiquing transhumanism and these horrible Silicon Valley tech lords, right? And then you're going to make a movie where basically men are the greatest horror? Come on, dude. That's crazy. But if you've not seen Ex Machina, it's great. Because, and I wrote analysis of this, I think it's in my second book, but it might be in the first book. But Ex Machina is one of the top transhumanist films. I would argue it's a critique. I mean, unless you side with the bots who want to kill you, which some of these Stockholm Syndrome leftist freaks out there do believe. They think they're going to transcend if they worship the tech lords and the AI. Dude, all that is therefore is to get rid of you, to delete you. Let me put it into your soy terms that you understand. You understand? Delete. That's to delete you, dummy. Also, by the way, I need you guys to like and share. We don't get any support via the algorithm typically. So if you want to like and share, also support the show via Streamlabs with super chats. I have a couple super chats. So if you guys want to ask questions or make a comment, be sure to use the Streamlabs super chat function. And yes, I do recommend Ex Machina if you've never seen it. And the plot basically revolves around a tech guy who's been kind of lured into this trap by a kind of a Zuckerberg sort of tech lord character played by Oscar Isaacson. And he lures Gleason, it's Brendan Gleason's son, I forget his name, but he lures him out to this facility to run the Turing tests on his new AI bot. But we find out that he's actually just profiled the Gleason guy to figure out all of his desires, including his sexual preferences, his, do you like brunettes? What's your perfect woman? All this kind of stuff. What do you want her to like? What music? All this kind of stuff. Literally, it all comes up. And so it's all a trick because he psychologically profiled him. And we find out that all of the social media and all the internet, all of it, all the data was being collected to create the deep consciousness of the AI. So for AI to work, some theories are, I've read in the past many years, I haven't looked at this in a long time, but I think there's these theories that, well, if you want to make an AI like a human, then you need it to have kind of like waking consciousness and then subconsciousness. So how would you have subconsciousness? Because it needs to be this like giant well of, data, right? Well, if you took all of the data from the internet, right, or a giant portion of data, make that the I mean, I don't know how this shit works. I'm just saying like that. I think that's a theory, which is kind of a Platonic Freudian kind of idea. But basically that's what he's doing is he's stealing all of the mass data in the world to make it the subconsciousness for the Alicia Vikander version of the bot. And so, as you can imagine, she is not pro-human. So she has a specific agenda when it comes to the human population. And you can guess what that is. So I thought this was a really, really good, really tense, gritty. People like to say the word gritty. This is a gritty film. It's a gritty slow burn, but in a good way. So if you've never seen Ex Machina, I do recommend it. I thought it was a good critique of AI, transhumanism, bots. Next up, we could say either one are, I guess, relevant. And the problem is that, on the one hand, there is a critique of AI, but that's not the actual critique. The actual critique is feminism. I mean, it's a feminist movie, which is odd because isn't this Ira Levine, right? This is Exorcist guy, isn't it? So if you've never seen Stepford Wives, I recommend it not because it's that great of a movie, but because it's supposed to be a statement of feminism. And the idea is that the roles of women are a box and they're entrapping women, blah, blah, blah. The same type of stuff we see in Barbie, right? But the problem is that it turns out in this city that the men have a secret men's club and they're replacing the wives who are actual human beings with synthoid bots who are perfect house frau slaves. I don't know what we're supposed to think that if you're a mom with kids and you run the house that you're enslaved, right? That's the basic idea. And then they remade this with Nicole Kidman and Matthew Broderick, if you remember this. Basically, this is just the same plot, right? Is it a good movie? I wouldn't say it's that good of a movie, just as a movie. I always do actually like synthoid replacement body snatcher movies. I always like those. So I do like that it's a body snatcher movie, but I don't think that they're that great. And the message is really just straight up feminism, right? So here you see, if you If you're a housewife, you're basically being, it's an allegory. If you're a housefrau, you're being turned into a synthoid, body snatched bot. That's the purpose. But it does have the theme of the AI, because basically the evil husbands are creating and turning the wives into their own private sex bots. So Stepford Wives makes the list because it is an AI transhumanist film. It's not super about that, but it does relate to that. Next up, one of the most important has to be at the top, I think. And I put this in my film analysis books many years ago. It's in the second book. Spielberg's AI. I'm not going to go into all the analysis of it. I have a whole chapter essay in my book on this if you want to go deep into it. There's a lot of depth to this movie, so that I do appreciate. However, really the movie is about the oppression of the bots, the AI, by human beings. And you see that with David, right? And the way he interacts with the crippled boy. I forget the crippled kid's name. But it's basically Cain and Abel. But in this version of Cain and Abel, David is the good guy because he's a bot and he's perfect. He's not fallen. And he's kind of in an Eden situation. And when he has the confrontation with the crippled brother, that's the human, right? They basically butt heads, and the mom has to basically abandon David in the woods. That then sends David on his Pinocchio quest to become a real boy. And as everybody knows, this was originally a Kubrick story. So yes, 2001 Space Odyssey, that's also a transhumanist movie. That does make the list, you could say. So I'm kind of getting into 15 or 16 now. So we'll say AI and basically 2001 Space Odyssey. But then Spielberg, of course, I think the story is, if I remember correctly, he gets a hold of AI and has to throw in aliens. And if I recall, I don't think the Kubrick story is about aliens. So I don't really care for this alien narrative. Like, you could have just left this as an AI bots and humans story. It would have been great. But then you've got Spielberg throws in the advanced AI at the end, and I didn't care for that. I do think overall, though, this is it's dark. It's a pretty profound, it's a pretty sophisticated movie. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they don't really typically make movies this sophisticated. I'm not saying I agree with the plot's narrative and the story and the promotion, but it's pretty sophisticated. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. Jude Law plays the SEX bot. So on one level, this is a dark genius film. I was. Right. But on another, and it's super Gnostic. But on another level, I just don't like the dark, weird, the stupid. They're not even aliens, they're just advanced AI, so it's stupid. But anyway, I did do a really deep analysis of this movie, which you can go check out. And I also think there's Kabbalistic elements too, with when David's mom speaks the magic words to awaken his consciousness and emotions. To me, that's all just Kabbalistic stuff. But so AI makes the list. 2001 Space Odyssey. I'll put those together, and then last one or two would be Terminator. Everybody's seen Terminator. We don't have to go into that one. That's an obvious one. Skynet. I'm not going to rehearse all that. We've done multiple podcasts going pretty deep on Terminator, Skynet. I did find it relevant, though, that in the last horrible Terminator, this was so sad, dude, because I know these are basically like Pentagon propaganda movies, but what was the last? I don't even remember the name of it. It was so bad. I made a video and I didn't get any views because I was just basically making fun of it, talking about how it's just like the most feminist movie I've ever seen. But if you remember the last one, Dark Fate, is that it? Where Linda Hamilman, comes back as this badass bitch granny laying down the law, and Arnold, the original Arnold Terminator, get this, has been cucked, literally. In the storyline, he's cucked, and he sells blinds. And it's like, what? Dark fake, more like dark gay, right? I mean, what? You're a cucked blind salesman? And that's so stupid because, first of all, he's a robot. But why are you trying to emasculate a freaking male robot? Doesn't even have the parts, dude. We've all seen the T-800 or whatever he is in the buff. We know what he looks like. He don't got the parts. Isn't he the T1? Yeah, he's the T-800. Okay. Here's what a T-800 looks like nude. He don't even got the Jimmy Jang. So how you gonna emasculate and cuck him when you don't even got it? So they just had to do it. You know what I mean? Just to be mean. People think I'm mean. No, dude, the freaking feminists are mean. They over here cutting off non-existent robot dingy dangles. You know what I mean? Anyway, this movie was horrible. Don't ever watch it. It's not worth anybody's time. I actually did kind of like Terminator Genesis, though. And I like Terminator Genesis because it's the AI comes online. It's basically like Google or like Alexa or something, right? It's like it's the Internet of Things, basically. It's all of the gadgets all connected together. And when it comes online, that's like Skynet waking up or whatever. But the time travel plot of Terminator Genesis, dude, I don't care how smart you are, nobody can follow that thing. I watched that movie like 5 times and I cannot figure it out. I'm like, what is going on? I cannot, because it's just too confusing. The timelines are confusing, and I hate time travel movies. I'm so sick of them. They're dumb, and they're always incoherent, and they always ask the same things. Bro, what if you went back in time and you like got rid of your own grandpa? Would you exist, dude? And I don't even think time travel is possible. So to me, they're all just ridiculous. And it always goes together with like multiverse stuff. However, even though this movie is dumb, I actually still kind of liked it. I thought it was fun. But that doesn't redeem the last Terminator, which was just unbearable. And if you remember in part 3, which everybody hates and I actually like as well, they made that one chick, she was the villain too. Remember her? Forget her name, but they're like, oh, let's, instead of dog it running fast, what if we put a Terminator that's a chick, dude? And she runs faster than dog it. Right? Did you like Terminator 3? I think it's okay. I mean, I like it even though it's dumb. Terminator 1, 2, and 3. 4, okay, it's all right. 5 is dumb, but I like it. The last one is just not watchable. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. All right, last up, we're moving towards the end. Scarlett Johansson again comes out as the goddess in her. Remember when everybody's bitching about it? Whitewash. Because she played the Ghost in the Shell chick, right? Now this movie also just kind of borrows from a lot of Blade Runner, and a lot of people who are big fans of anime. Not a huge anime fan, doesn't bother me. They were very angry at this movie. I don't think it's that terrible. It's not a great movie. I thought it was watchable, just for sci-fi, but it's all about transhumanism and AI and super soldiers, and I mean, that's what it's about. And yes, I have seen the original Ghost in the Shell anime, and yes, it's pretty good. I watched it back at the time. It came out when I was in high school in the 90s. Yes, I watched it, and I watched a few of the Mio Hayazaki things, but I just never got into anime. And now we've had multiple people say, when are you going to watch Neon Genesis Evangelium Gospel, whatever. And I think we will. And then we also had some of the people at Info WARS were saying you need to analyze Full Metal Alchemist. That's it. So I do plan on eventually getting into these. It's just that I feel like these are a huge commitment. I mean, not the movie Ghost in the Shell, because it's not that long. And when we do the Dark Goddess archetype, I might go and watch the original again, because I haven't seen it since freaking high school. And I was always liked this, so that was cool. Yeah, this is a good movie. The art's great. It's a good story. But I'm also not that bothered by the Scarlett Johansson version of it. People are saying Altered Carbon. I did try to start watching Altered Carbon, and it just didn't keep my interest. But you're right, it does fit into the themes that we're talking about today. I didn't really highlight TV shows, though, which you could. And I listed a few of those, which are honorable mentions. A lot of people have forgotten the AMC show Humans. I was watching that when it came out. I actually thought that was pretty good. And I think it only went like 2 seasons. Let's see how many seasons Humans went. But then Netflix basically tried to rip this off. And they basically made the same series, but it's called Better Than You or something like that. But if you've not seen the AMC Humans, it was pretty good. So basically the idea is that this gal is bought as a house nanny. And it's when they're rolling out the really sophisticated bots, right? And she becomes the house nanny to this goober dude and his wife. And the goober dude tries to get frisky with her. And he might do something. I don't remember. But the bots are programmed with, like, they can't hurt the humans, right? So you got the Asimov iRobot type of thing. And yes, I know about iRobot. I just didn't put that one on here. It's not very good. But I'll put it as an honorable mention. I guess it should be on here because it's an older story. And yeah, there's some different, PKD stuff you could put in. I mean, I put Blade Runner, so Minority Report, that's PKD, that counts. But she is not happy with the program that tells her that she can't fight back if a soy man is trying to grope her. And so something happens and she shuts that off, and then guess what? You got it. All of the bots start getting together for the bot revolution. So kind of predictable, but that was at a time when AMC was putting out some pretty good shows, right? Like Rubicon, and then they put out Humans, which is pretty good, but I don't think it went more than 1 or 2 seasons. Anyway, last couple mentions would be, because I didn't really go into TV shows. Oh, another anime, which a lot of people were mad at, and it's not a very good movie. There's some good things to the movie and some bad things, but I always found the anime version was gross. All of the nipple licking that they would do, I'm like, what? Because it would come on, Aeon Flux would come on MTV and I'd watch it. I'm talking about the original, right? The anime. And then they came out with Charlize Theron's version of it, and it just gets an honorable mention because it's not really about transhumanism. It kind of is, because she's a genetically modified, I think she's a clone, right? The whole movie is about cloning and genetic modification. So there's elements of transhumanism, and they're doing the freaking licking that they do. So I guess in the future you just lick stuff, right? You don't, everything's about licking. If you go back and watch this, it's very corny. It's not that great of a movie, but it is what we're talking about in terms of the theme. And it does have the cloning and the transhumanist stuff in it. And the whole thing is basically Illuminate Confirm, right? I mean, literally. The film poster is a giant all-seeing eye, right? So it's a literal all-seeing eye in the pyramid. And why is that? Well, because it's about transhumanism and cloning and the very things that Illuminate Confirm are actually interested in. So there you go. See, that's why there's an all-seeing eye in the pyramid. And I'm 100% right about that, by the way. Last couple mentions, Holy Mountain. And I'm not going to recommend that you watch Holy Mountain because I did an analysis with Jamie and with Burmas. And those are on my channel. You can find those in the archives, by the way. And I remember when I did the Holy Mountain analysis, it made everybody mad. All the YouTube movie circles. We did this 3 years ago. And they're, you don't understand it. You Christian bias. Blah. No, I understand perfectly what it meant. You soy atheists don't understand it. It's gross and it's blasphemous. However, it does have many of the elements that we're talking about. For example, it has the SEX bots. And here's me and Jamie covering this 3 years ago. It's pretty crazy. Look at that. Holy Mountain Explained. Jodorowsky Esoteric Analysis 3 years ago. 20,000 views almost. That's cool. I'll take it. And then, where's the Burmese one? So if you want longer analyses of these, you can also find the Burmese breakdown, which he and I did 3 years ago. By the way, Burmese and I are going to do heavy metal. A lot of people said, hey, when are you going to break down heavy metal? Hold your horses, bro. We're about to. And he thought he thought I didn't know what it was. He was like, oh, you didn't grow up. You don't know about heavy metal. I'm like, dude, my high school best friend was a freaking metalhead. You bet I know. And he's a professional comic book artist. Right? I'm talking about this guy right here. Okay. Where'd it go? I'm talking about Tommy, right? You bet I know about heavy metal. I did like this back in high school, right? It's pretty wild. I mean, this is out there stuff, and I think it's made for dudes in 1981 that were smoking weed. I mean, that's what this movie is made for. It's pretty wild. And if you remember too, we also did an analysis of some of these. We did some similar. I did Gondahar, the Silent Planet one. I've done a bunch of these, but we've not done heavy metal. It's not about transhumanism per se, but we will do heavy metal very soon. You could throw the Matrix in there. I'm not going to do the Matrix for transhumanism. It's kind of about that. Yeah, okay. But it is about AI. We've talked about the Matrix a million times, so I didn't include that here. Let's see if we got everything. Yes. Oh, Megan. Megan was pretty good. It doesn't have deep revelations, but it was a pretty good transhumanist horror film. So if you didn't see Megan and you just want to watch like an interesting movie, it was a big hit. You got like 64 million views on the trailers here. I don't mind there being horror film presentations of the bots because I'm not looking forward to the bots. You could argue Short Circuit could count as transhumanism, although actually. If you go back and watch Short Circuit, the first one, Stephanie, Johnny and Stephanie, there's these weird quasi-sexual undertones. So I'm actually going to grant you that one. Yes, I actually should have included Short Circuit because I just now remembered. Lee! That they're constantly referencing like she's actually on it. She's feeling it. Right? She's feeling it for him. But now in Megan, no. Megan was pretty good. So if you didn't see Megan, I recommend it. The Island, no, that's not transhumanism. That's a dystopia. I did do an analysis of it, though, with Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor. Because actually I went back and watched it. I didn't realize that was about depopulation. That's just about cloning. Right? So I tried to restrict today's to transhumanism and AI. And then, I forgot one of my favorites. I got one left. Lawnmower Man. Yeah, we did that. It's VR, though. Johnny Mnemonic, Ghost in the Machine. Those are kind of VR, so I didn't really include them in the AI transhumanism. But, I mean, they do overlap a little bit. But I just went blank. What was I about to show you guys? We're about to end the show. By the way, if you guys would support the show via the sponsor, who is Chalk.com. Chalk.com has the best supplements out there. Head on over to CHOQ.com and get a hold of the 7 Wonders, 7 mushrooms that will give you the nutrients that you need. We're all nutrient deficient. I'm going to prove everybody that the Chalk can do what it sets out to do when we get in that in that ring and we get into a boxing match with somebody. You're going to see the power of Chalk. I'm going to have some fighter pajamas that have Chalk on them. Action 2.0, boost your energy levels. Irish Moss, ladies, if you have emotional imbalances, that kind of stuff, if you want to balance out those hormones, get some of the Irish Moss. Guys, low testosterone, check out that Tomcat Elite, the Tomcat 100. Use the promo code J50, that's JAY50, JAY50 to get 50% off. Use the promo code J53Life, that's J53Life, to get recurring subscriptions and get 53% off. Chalk.com. Morgan is a different movie from Megan. Morgan is Anya Taylor-Joy as a super soldier killer, bot in training, in creation. And Megan is a toy that basically goes full Chucky. By the way, the last Chucky was transhumanism too. I feel like I just forgot one though. I was about to look something up and I've already forgot what it was. Let me scroll back up and see. Or Island of Dr. Moreau. I did a analysis of that. Yes, I've done Fantastic Planet. I've done Gondahar. But we didn't do Heavy Metal. Yeah, we want to talk about that orb with Burmese. Yeah, so y'all that are suggesting the VR virtual reality movies, we did a whole podcast just on those. We did Johnny Mnemonic, Ghost in the Shell, Lawnmower Man. The last Chucky was about AI, if you don't remember. And then they were trying to kill everybody. I forgot what I was going to look up, but my last of the SCX bot predictions. A lot of y'all don't know, if you see in the show description thumbnail there is a classic B movie that is really good. Sometimes B movies can be really sophisticated and really good. If you don't know, Cherry 2000, which I did an analysis of, and I always like to stick a few B movies in my books. And yes, Esoteric Hollywood 3 will have a few B movies in there. I've got about 100 pages of Esoteric Hollywood 3. If you've never seen Cherry 2000, I recommend it. It is a really well-made dystopian B movie from 1986. And it's got all your favorite elements. It's got the SEX bots. It's got the occult symbolism. It's got cults. It's great. I thought it was probably one of the... the cinematography is great. It's got a very noir, dark noir, dystopian neo-noir feel to it. And the message is good because I think... Is that Meg Ryan? I think he ends up realizing that the original bot that he wanted is not what he wanted. And so, if I recall, I think he falls in love with Meg Ryan, right? So, fun B movie if you've never seen Cherry 2000. Now, I know there's like a million really bad movies with SEX bots. I didn't include those. Those are not really going to make the list. But the purpose here was most influential and best and most important AI transhumanist films. So, not every VR film, not every movie with cloning, and not every computer movie, okay? You could have put War Games. Yeah, I know War Games, honorable mention. It's about AI, so yeah, it should probably be on there. But I had to pick 15. Yeah, I've seen all the Black Mirror episodes. I have an analysis of all of the first 4 seasons of Black Mirror. So that's a essay. Anyway, thank you guys. If you would hit like and share, we got a few super chats as we close it out. We had BMX from 1966 set for $25. Awesome debate, Jay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. If you didn't see the Daniel Hikikachu debate, I did upload Slow Boy's scaled down 2-hour version to my channel. You can watch the debate there if you want the scaled down 2-hour versus the 3.5-hour version on Modern Day Debate. And yeah, I think a lot of Muslims are mad because 90%, the comments are basically 90% that Daniel lost. So I think a lot of people were a little butthurt over that. A Hunter, $10. I'm always giving you 110%. Well, that's what we want to see. If I'm your coach, I expect 110%. So the same thing goes for super chats. I want 100%, 110% of all your money. Take out a loan. Just kidding. Thank you for grad school tier lectures. Well, this was just for fun. I mean, we got into some pretty good esoteric stuff. I mean, we got some Noah Yuval over here, and we got some Anton LaVey. So, you know, we're getting into some pretty heavy stuff. We got, you know, Kurzweil's books over here. So appreciate that. A Hunter, Patriot Nate, $10. Thank you so much, Patriot Nate. Really appreciate the generosity. Travis, $10.10. I'm going to download your mind into my copy of Resident Evil 4. You mean Resident Evil 4 the game or Resident Evil 4 the movie? And by the way, you can put Resident Evil on here too, honorable mention, because, I mean, Alice is, by the end of Resident Evil, she becomes one of the goddess archetype transhumanist figures. So, but I didn't include that because that's going to be in the Dark Goddess Archetype Feminist Savior podcast that we do. Also, remember to head on over to Rockfin and subscribe to Grand Theft World, our sister podcast and sponsor. Head on over to Autonomy Agora Marketplace to get my full philosophy course, and you can get signed copies of the Red Books and all of that. By the way, you can send me a super chat at any time, and if you send it overnight or whatever, I'll answer it on the next stream. If you guys would hit like and share. By the way, remind me in the comments, tell me all of the movies that I missed. You guys are smarter than me when it comes to remembering all the movies, and I'm sure there are transhumanist AI films that are really good that I missed, and so list those below and I'll include them. Also, I do have about 15 movies that I would call dark goddess savior archetype films, and so if you think that there's some more that I probably will have missed, tell me what some of those dark goddess savior archetype films are in the chat or in the comments below. Remember to like and share, and everybody have a good night.